Before I create videos, I always do a search to make sure what I'm doing doesn't already exist because I hate to duplicate content. I want to introduce new metas, etc. So while I was doing the search for this video, I was just unbelievably disappointed with how many, revo guides are out there where you're hitting like 10, 20, 30 abilities during the fight. And frankly, that's not AFK, that's not revolution. So I put this together. I will give a disclaimer. You can't just stay in the instance with this method. Every single kill, we're going to teleport out to War's Retreat, reset, heal our familiar and such, and then go in for the next kill. We summon our conjures, head back in. After that, you completely AFK, no eating food, no pressing abilities, nothing for about 600 to 700k hit points. That'll take like a minute, minute and a half. And then for that last phase of Rasial, we'll usually disable your prayer at some point, so you'll need to manually use like 3 or 4 abilities that I'll walk you through. That just makes the kill a lot safer and consistent. I think 100% AFK is possible, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'd rather get this video out, and if I figure that further method out, I'll share it with you also. The biggest challenge at Rasial is that he disables your prayer every few auto attacks. You'll see right below his health bar, there's a stack that counts up. After it hits 5, he'll cast a double damaging auto that disables protection prayers. I think it's kind of funny that the 2 new necromancy bosses in the game, like the only monsters you could really benefit from the protect necromancy prayer, just completely disable it. But that's an aside. There is one way you can avoid him disabling that prayer. If you're immune to stuns, then it does not turn off your prayer. That's exactly what we're going to do in this video. I found a way to make sure we're always stun immune when he does that 6th attack, allowing us to camp protect necromancy instead of soul split. Combined with clever positioning and a crazy action bar, Rasial doesn't stand a chance. This method requires a very unique perk build. Instead of your usual DPS perks, we're going to use Clear-Headed 4 and Impatient 4 reflexes, then Enhanced Devoted 4 and Biting 4 Undead Slayer. I'm kind of cheap, so I'm actually using Biting 2 Undead Slayer for all my testing, but 4 is much better if you get it. Clear-Headed 4 is easiest to get at level 71 Invention with 9 variable components. It's about a 1 in 15 chance, so it takes a bit to get. I got really lucky and got it on my first attempt, which was great. Then Impatient 4 Reflexes is best with this combo at level 112 Invention. That is a Zamorak component in the middle, then 6 Zeros components, 1 Dexterous, and a Harness component. It's about a 50-50 chance to get it. The Reflexes perk halves the cooldown of Anticipation, but it also halves the duration it lasts. This gives us about 40% uptime of Anticipation, and then Clear-Headed will add a flat 2 ticks more of Anticipation per rank, without being halved by Reflexes. This boosts our uptime of Anticipation to about 80%. With some clever action bar placement, we can have complete uptime of stun immunity during Rasial's prayer disabling attack. I also found positioning that works without the Reflexes perk, but the final phase was messier with it, so for this video I'm going to stick to the Reflexes method. For our gear, we'll be using the tier 95 Necromancy robe set for additional conjure duration and damage. I swapped the gloves to a death-touched bracelet for reflect damage instead. Our amulet is a Salve Amulet E, which works on Rasial as he's undead. This is the best in slot amulet by far. We use a Zut Cape, which is absolutely required for this method, as you'll be casting Death Skulls 4 or 5 times during the fight. I'm using a Ring of Death in my ring slot in case I mess up on the final phase, but the Reaver's Ring is much better if you're comfortable surviving that last phase. After about 50 kills, you should be comfortable enough to transfer to a Reaver's Ring. For my book, I'm using a Scripture of Jazz, but the Scripture of Full and Wen both work really well here too. I'm actually using the tier 90 weapons instead of tier 95. I was hoping to get my own weapon drops during testing, but after 300 kills with no drops but the pet at 10 kill count, it's not looking so good. I assume the tier 95 weapons will be much better here. Hopefully you guys can crash them in price for me. My inventory has Ectoplasm to summon conjures, Blood Reaver scrolls and a familiar to help with healing, an Elder Overload salve, and then all of the new runes. The runes are used to cast Death Mark at the start of the fight and then reflect at the end of the fight with Lesser Bone Shield active. I also have Vuln Bombs, which will throw one of at the start of the fight. Next, I have a bunch of Portent of Restoration IXs. They heal you without consuming adrenaline and are a nice boost during the fight. Then I have expensive spices and a blue blubber jelly in case of emergencies on that final phase. The spring cleaner is there just to alka salvage drop for me. In my beast guide, I touched on how adrenaline cost of death skulls can be reduced with various items. We're going to take advantage of all of them in this guide. You need the passive Ring of Vigor, the Zut Cape, Supreme Invigorate Aura, and the Conservation of Energy Relic. We'll also use the Fury of the Small and Death Ward relics. I set my Reaver healing speed to once every 8 seconds. You can go a little faster or slower, but I found this was a good balance. Here's the Revolution bar we'll use. Death Skulls is first to ensure we get out as many as possible during Living Death. Then we have a balance of filler basics that keep Anticipation going off at the right times. And finally, rounding out with resummons and higher hitting necromancy abilities. I have a secondary bar on the screen that I'll use to manually click some abilities on the last phase. We have Freedom, which is used when Anticipation is about to run out to keep stun immunity up. That helps sustain Protect Necromancy longer. Then I have Devotion to negate all damage when the prayer is up. The Reflect and Debilitate abilities to half damage when Devotion runs out. And then just a few things like eating food and turning the prayer back on for when it does run out. Now let's walk through a full kill. After each kill, I teleport to War's Retreat and then head over to the Altar of War and pray there. That restores my prayer points and it heals my familiar back to full. Then I load out my preset and go get 100% adrenaline. If I have conjures out, I'll take off my augmented skull lantern, which will desummon them, and then I'll put it back on. After that, I just head through the boss portal. Before you start fighting him the first time, you're going to want to create an instance with him, so you can right click rejoin quickly. So I'll just start a Rasial instance, and I'll leave it so it's all set up. So you do just for your very first kill. After that, you're all set for the full hour. Then outside, what we're going to be doing is summoning our skeleton outside, rejoining the instance. Then in this order, we summon our ghost, summon our zombie. You'll want to surge, so you'll summon that ghost, and then you'll actually surge, and then summon the zombie. Then you command the ghost. Then we cast Invoke Death, which will apply Death Mark to Rasial. That's going to actually be about when he starts to spawn. Then we click on him and command Skeleton Warrior. And at that point, throw a Vuln Bomb, and then you should be good to just AFK. It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot the first few times, but once you get into the rhythm of it, it's really not too bad. So I'll walk through it. I might have a little bit of trouble talking through it while I do it, but I'm going to summon the skeleton. Then I rejoin the instance. Oops. I'm going to summon that skeleton outside. Then I rejoin the last instance, summon the ghost. Then I surge, I summon the zombie, command the ghost, invoke death, and then I get command zombie, and throw that Vuln Bomb. And I am good to go at this point. I should be able to AFK. Sometimes you'll see my ghost is here. He'll get stuck over here, and in that case, you're not actually going to get healed by your ghost, so your best bet is to just teleport out and restart with a new kill. I'll also make sure you have overload on, because mine wasn't. Alright, so yeah, that's the first part of the fight. Then it's super chilled. You just let the bar do its stuff. You'll get healed by your ghost, you'll get healed by your reaver, get healed by your portents, and if something's going really wrong, like I don't have devotion proc or something, I do have these blubbers, so I can eat a few if I need to, but for this first part, you should really be fine for a while. You'll notice when he starts his ghost wall attack, so right here, 400k hit points, because we are standing in exactly this spot, well not exactly, anywhere along this line, the ghost wall mechanic will not hit you. This might be patched in the future, but I've found some workarounds where you can AFK through that too, so don't worry too much if that happens. We'll release another video on Rasial. But I like this method because you can use the tier 95 robe set, which does a lot more damage. So now that he's coming to his 200k hit point threshold, I look at my action bar and I see this is about to go off, so that means I have immunity to stuns, so I'll cast Devotion manually. That'll protect me. Then when Anticipation runs out, I'm just going to cast Freedom manually. That'll keep up my prayer. I keep going. Devotion's out, so I'm going to do Debilitate, which will half damage here. I'm just going to eat a little bit because I wasn't paying attention too much. You'll want to walk out of attacks and then just reflect at the end there, and you should get the kill. You're all set. That I made that look way easier than it is. But I've been doing this for a while, so I'm going to walk you through just a few different scenarios. Basically, what happened was I was watching my bar as I got to that threshold, and he got up here, and I saw that Anticipation was about to go off. So once I got to that point where I was fighting him and he's going to start hitting a lot, I see Anticipation goes off, and I have, oh yeah, he teleports back. Well, we'll walk through a few of these, but basically I make sure I have that stun immunity going on, and if I do, then I'll cast Devotion, so I'm all set, I'm protected from him. If it's about to run out and I'm not going to cast Anticipate, then I'll start with Freedom, and the Freedom ability will give me stun immunity, in which case I am good to cast Devotion right after that, and then at that point Anticipation should come on and last through that, and then I would do Reflect, because my prayer is going to run out, so I'd like to reflect more damage, and then once Anticipation's on, I will turn my prayer back on and use Debilitate. So I'll show you a few different ending fights there so that we can go through it and it makes a lot more sense for you. All right, this is going to be an example of when I don't have stun immunity at the start of that final phase. I've got it in slow motion so you guys can follow along and I can talk through clearly what's happening. So you notice right now I've got about 20k hit points left on him for this phase, and I've just used Anticipation. So it just showed up on my bar and it's ticking down, and it's on cooldown on my action bar. But I phase him and I only have a few seconds left, which is going to go away as he starts appearing here. So I use Freedom to get that stun immunity, and that will keep my Protect Necromancy prayer on. Then I immediately use Devotion afterwards, so I'm saved from that first attack. You'll notice they don't hit me at all because I have Devotion on, so I'm protected. Then after that, my bar automatically uses Anticipate, so I'm still protected. And then I check that bar and I see that my Devotion is going to run out soon. So I use Debilitate next, and then that will half damage for me because I'm still protected. Then I see that my stun immunity has run out. So I'm going to step away from that next attack because it'll hurt me and use Reflect. And Reflect will hit back damage, which helps with the phasing there, and I will need to be avoiding attacks because I'm going to take damage otherwise. So just take like 1 or 2 steps away. Then eventually I get that stun immunity back, and I am good to turn on Protect from Necromancy and continue the fight. I should note that I would normally use keybinds to press these abilities. I'm just manually clicking them so it's clearer for you all to follow. Besides that, the action bar should do most of the DPS for you, and the kill should not be too bad. This will take some practice, but after a while you'll get it down and it won't be that hard at all. Now I'm also going to go through the other example where you do have that stun immunity up. So you'll see here I'm about to phase Rasial, and I check and I have just used Anticipation as I go into that phase. So Anticipation goes off, I'm stun immune. That means I will start with Devotion, so I cast Devotion here. Then at that point I'm safe from his attacks, and I'm watching Anticipate on my bar. When I see Anticipation is getting lower, it's going to run out. I'm going to use Freedom next, so there it runs out, and I click Freedom. That gives me that stun immunity again and keeps the Devotion working for me. Then I wait a little bit because I'm safe. When I'm not going to be safe, then I see Devotion is going to run out, but Anticipation is about to go off, so I can use Debilitate because I'll still have that Necromancy protection up, so I don't need to use reflect yet, as I'm not taking a ton of damage. I'm good there, and then I watch, and as anticipation is about to run out in a little bit, then my necromancy protection prayer is going to go away, so I will use reflect to protect me and do additional damage to the boss there. I actually kill him before that becomes an issue, but if you hadn't killed him yet, then having reflect would help kill him faster. So that's it. It's not super easy your first few times, but once you get used to it, you get used to watching the stuns. It should not be too bad, and you can get lots of kill count with very low effort. So hopefully this guide helped. If you've enjoyed it, if you've appreciated it, please make sure to subscribe, share the video, all of that.